Welcome to another edition of the Santita Jackson Show. The Bible promises us that we are transformed by the renewing of our minds, but somehow or another, you know how it is, everybody, we're deformed by the world. But we need to conform to God. And so this show is going to show us how to nurse our healing and not rehearse our pain. Which brings us to the first topic today. Say what? Dietrich Haddon, who's one of our icons in modern gospel, has really been facing a lot of challenges, the breakup of his marriage, and a lot of gossip around it. And so he took to Facebook and he said, look, I want to clear the air, and I want you to know that my wife cheated on me. And yes, I did. Well, he told a whole story. He told a whole story, and it's very painful to see. And then, of course, in your being your best self, we're going to talk about that. How it is that women are coping with relationships in which 40% of us make more than our men in our lives. What is that doing to the men in our lives? Do they feel emasculated? Some of them are saying yes. Some are saying no, but a lot of them are saying yes. How do we achieve the balance? Particularly when you know what, in a depression, yes, and I think that we're in one, you need to make the money where you can, legally, of course. Let's start with Attorney Linda Bernard.
Hi, how are you?
Noted civil rights, entertainment lawyer, a family lawyer, civil rights lawyer. You do a lot of great work for a lot of great people, and we thank God for you. And of course, my co-executive producer. Indeed, she is the face and voice of the top tier public television station in Chicago, Chicago Public Television, Chicago Public Radio. She is a professor of media at Columbia College in Chicago. She wears a lot of hats, and she is a producer, award-winning of stage and television. Wow. You didn't think I knew that.
I'm tired now when you say all that.
Oh, no, look, I mean, you've done a lot of great work, Sylvia Ewing, for a long time.
Thank you, honey.
You know, when we pulled up this story, you and I always go over a lot of different possibilities for stories that we're going to put on the show. And I shared this story with Sylvia, and I always know that we've got a winner when her eyes go, really? That happened? But, you know, I was really saddened by this. We all love Dietrich Haddon's music. He's an incredibly gifted man. And like all of us, he struggles. You know, and I don't know why it is that we expect the people who we see, these stars, not to struggle, but they do. And a lot of people have gossiped about his divorce. And so he felt that he needed to clear the air. And so when he took to Facebook and gave this posting, and indeed he gave an interview on Yolanda Adams' radio show in which he said, look, my wife cheated on me. Not only did he say that she cheated on me,
he named names.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I am inalterably opposed. And let me just say this.
Inalterably opposed?
to
I
that.
mean, you will not move on that.
How do you really feel?
But the reason I say that is actually because of something. I want to say how old I am. I remember when your father and Muhammad Ali were very close. And Muhammad Ali was divorcing the lady who was Muslim. He had fallen in love with Veronica. Yeah. And I remember him being on Phil Donahue. I think your dad was there with him. They were both there. And they kept pressing
And they're
Muhammad
still dear
Ali.
friends today. They're still dear friends
They kept
today.
pressing Muhammad Ali to say, well, why was he getting, you know, Khalil was divorcing him. And he said, I will not talk about the mother of my children. I remember him standing for that, and I remember your father amening that. And even
I had forgotten all about that,
we
Linda.
never knew.
That's why we have her
you know, we never knew, you know, what the real deal is, but, you know, things that are behind closed doors maybe should stay behind closed doors. But he refused to disrespect her, although there was a lot of talk and a lot of everything about other guys who were Muslim, this, that, and the other. And your father was there with him, and that was their stance. They would not talk about the mother.
Well, there was a big rumor about the woman who he eventually married.
Right.
But we forget that Muslims are allowed to have more than one wife.
Right.
Linda likes to remind us.
Yes, she does.
And I like that. So
Because
he
she wants women
even though
to.
they were lambasting him, it was terrible. I mean, but I'm not discussing it. I will not say anything negative about my wife and the mother of my children. And the divorce, from his standpoint, he was silent. And I like that. I thought that was very dignified.
Well, what do you think?
I think that's a very thoughtful take on it, and I appreciate
And of course, that was more than 30 years ago.
Right, your dad was
But
that.
and
Okay.
I feel the dignity, I feel the respect for the mother of his children. I guess I took a different tact, which is it's like a Millie Jackson song. We hear all these
Millie
stories.
Jackson, wait a minute. This
I
is a
love her
moment.
now.
Hold
Starting
it.
with her favorite
Going way
F
back,
song.
the stories, our production assistant's like, who is that? All the young people.
Would you explain?
Millie Jackson was the quintessential, soul singer that would tell you, my man, it was basically blues, R&B, but she would tell you
On
the
steroids.
story. On
Brilliant.
steroids.
I mean, look, brilliant.
Uber, she would tell you the story.
She was like a rapper, a female
That's
rapper
correct.
today.
Yeah,
In
yeah.
fact, she did.
She was the
I mean,
toughest of
and
the
she
tough.
told you
And
the
she owned
story
everything.
of what
Yeah.
happened, and my man came, and this happened. It was all like R. Kelly in the closet, but before its time.
That's right. That's right.
But
that's right.
my point is that women would say, this happened to me, my man did X, Y, and Z with this person. We rarely hear men being transparent. So I just applauded him sharing, this happened to me, not being so tough that he would pretend that another man didn't come along behind him. So I just found it to be refreshing transparency.
I think it's weak. I think it's inappropriate.
Did the camera catch my face?
And furthermore, marriages, as I've said before,
What do you
marriages
mean?
govern.
Weak? Whoa.
It's weak.
What do you mean?
Why is he trying to get sympathy? I mean, it is what it is. There are 187 laws that govern marriage in the United States. It's a business partnership. It's a family partnership. It's a real relationship. And quite frankly, you know my feelings on this. Extramarital affairs are like way down on the chain in terms of reasons to get a divorce. As a matter of fact, it's not a reason to get a divorce, in my opinion. And I tell all the women
Send
I
your
know
letters
that.
to Linda.
Send it to me, because I
And
agree
the
with that
men.
too. I do.
So
I do.
So this was a 10-minute, whatever it was. You know him. He's old anyway.
You know what? I
I
was talking with a very dear friend of mine, and her parents divorced many years ago, and the father resisted the divorce. And in fact, I've seen this happen time after time after time. The husband, it's hard to get him down the aisle, but once he gets down there, he is waiting for you. That's why I don't agree with these women chasing men, because a man is waiting down at the end of the aisle with the preacher. He's ready.
Right.
It's the women who leave the longer we're in it.
Right.
This divorce does not
it makes no
resolve
sense.
anything. And you know what pained me about this? I think that you need to, that's why, if I may put it this way, a sewer has a cover for a reason.
Right.
You're not supposed to put your personal business, I don't care what people are saying, and believe me, we have been in the Inquirer. My family.
Not the Jacksons.
And that is not fun. It is not. You have not
No, it's
lived
not.
until you push that grocery cart and you look to your left or your right and you see yourself on that magazine. And I get them sometimes to check and see, I know this story is bubbling. It's not fun. That
course
said, you still need discretion is the better part of valor. Remember that expression?
Well, I'm just saying that
Transparency,
and maybe
I get it.
I get the transparency. Facebook,
But I like foil.
This is the new reality as well. That he later did the interview with a mainstream journalist, but he did this on Facebook, and this
It
is
made
where
no
the
sense.
world.
Well, that's the new reality.
This is the new reality of where the world is going.
I'm trying to get off here to get on Facebook today.
Well, you know what? You love your Facebook. Go to her Facebook page because she loves it.
I'm sure. I understand that is how you communicate with people now. I didn't realize that people were so hooked in. And people were so hooked into each other's business, too.
It's ridiculous.
And that's what
but we
bothers
keep putting
me.
it out there. Oh, I went to the grocery store today. Oh, I did this today. I mean, it's ridiculous. I mean, there is no privacy anymore.
And, do you think that this situation is an outgrowth of that? Because
I
people
think
apparently
he's
were
foolish.
chatting a lot.
I
Really?
just think he's foolish.
But what's the
And let
Everyone,
me just
send
say
your
this
letters
about-
to Attorney Linda Bernard.
Please.
Please.
And let me just say this to you on this issue of marriage and fidelity. And pardon me in the language that I'll use, because I hope it doesn't offend anyone. But there is only one person, I tell my girlfriends, in the wife line. When you get an invitation to the White House, it says Mr. and Mrs. That's the bottom line. There's one person in that
And it's
line.
non-transferable.
But the whole line may go around the block. It doesn't matter.
Thank you,
It doesn't
Linda.
matter. There's only one person in the wife line. First seat in the pew, and if there's a funeral, she's the person. She is it. And if women would recognize that, the whole line, and so.
But you know what? If I may say this, I think that one of the things that we as women do not do, we
And
don't,
men
so,
the
we
same.
don't, well, we don't support. And let me talk about women right now. And this
Okay.
is where I think we need to grow. We don't support other women when they are going through a hard time in their marriages.
No, we don't.
If we're dealing with, or in our relationships, if there's infidelity, we look at the woman, boom, whoo, you weren't doing your job. Stop, wait. He's got an issue. And I might have an issue too. But that's none of your business. And you know what? If he was infidelitous, I should not take that personally. What am I doing?
But even
No, we need to stop that.
But even beyond
Well-
that, tonight, if you walked away, they'd be first in line.
Oh, everyone.
Let me make this clear. I mean, they are all this.
You're
You should
telling
leave. You
her
should
what
do
she
this.
has said
you should
many
do the other.
times.
It is. It's just the way it is. That
I'm
man is
telling
still
you.
attractive. That man is still, whatever. He's still all that in a bag of chips. And all of your friends will be right there next in line to
Okay,
deal with him.
since there
because-
aren't-
But you should leave. You should leave.
There aren't men. There
You should
aren't
leave
men
it.
on our panel
Right.
right
Yeah,
now.
give me a break.
If I were, if I channeled my Edward Foxworth or my Bankalay or any of our favorite guests,
Dawood.
our Dawood, I would just say that it's interesting to me that
or Dr.
man,
Reginald Richardson, I can't forget about him.
That's right. It's interesting to me that a man would be open to say this. I don't know if it started from his pain, his embarrassment. I don't know if Facebook was the right place to launch it. He then went on and did it on
well,
the air.
let's-
But I just think it's interesting for him to share that. Now, I don't know the layers of, is that retaliation? Because in
It is.
naming
It is.
names,
It is.
he was also, it wasn't
is.
just like, well, this happened. He's naming names.
Yeah.
Is it payback? There's some of that.
And-
What
but you
will
know
other
what?
men
That's
take
human.
from it?
And that's human. I mean, even if, I don't agree with that, but I have to give him space because clearly he is in a lot of pain. There are no winners here. I mean, there just aren't. There are no winners. So, so what do you do? I mean,
Maybe
you want
Yolanda's
men-
ratings were winners, though.
Well,
think
I
he
gotta
needs
say
to man
that.
up.
But
I
and
just
you know
think
what?
he
Look,
needs to man up.
man up. What do you mean? What do you
Man
mean?
up. I mean, you don't go out. I mean, what is he seeking? Pity? I mean, what does he want? A pity party? He wants sympathy? He wants
Well-
all the women to come to him and say, "Oh, you poor guy."
Well,
That's such a
now,
sin."
he-
give me
he
a break.
said he did not
You're a
feel-
big boy. Act like it.
Well, he said he didn't feel worthy of preaching for a year in a pulpit because while he and his wife were breaking up, he sought comfort. And his girlfriend got pregnant. I mean, it's a look. Let me
Wow,
tell you
it's a
something.
soap opera.
No, it's a human story. It's a human story.
Yeah.
It's a human story. And I think at some point we have to give human beings the space to be human and divine.
That's right.
So, okay, now how do we get redeemed? What is our takeaway from this? You clearly think that this is not the right thing to do.
Absolutely not.
Do you think legally he could be in trouble for this?
Well, I mean, he's put all his business out there. His lawyers don't really have much of a defense. I mean, not to mention the fact that if any of what he said is not true, he's subject to libel, defamation, and so forth.
Well, I mean,
from
just
the quote-
defamation of character.
From,
Do you
from
think?
the lovers. She, of course, has certain privacy issues. Now there's a new child who's the product of, I guess he's still married. So,
Ooh, there's
was
a
he-
lot.
and the new lady, and now suppose he doesn't want her anymore.
Well,
He's
we don't
probably gonna
know.
want
We don't
somebody else.
know.
I
We
mean,
don't
I'm
know.
just saying that,
Yeah.
I mean, it just gets stickier and stickier and stickier wicket.
And
I just think he should breathe and reflect on things quietly.
Really.
I do.
really,
That's not happening.
he's not. And I will say this. I think we've got to give people the space to be human, but we have to be humane as we are on this human journey. I mean, the fact is, discretion is the better part of valor. Manholes need covers. That's right. All of the sewage in our lives, they should not be put on the table before you. Let the elements take care of them. Let them be swept away. Let the rains come, and everything will be all right in time. But don't tell all your business. We'll be back with more of the Santita Jackson Show in just a moment. Are women emasculating men because we make more money? 40% of us do. What do you think about that? That's enough to make you cough, Attorney Linda Blunt. Back in a moment.
Being your best self.
You should be here during the breaks, being your best self on the Santita Jackson Show. What about women who make more money than their men? There's a LinkedIn study that shows that 40% of American women now make more money than their husbands, than their partners. And the question has been put forth, are we emasculating men when we make more money than they do? Attorney Linda Bernard.
Oh, hello. It's great
family.
being
Now,
here.
this is when your family law piece comes out. And of course, I have to say to my co-executive producer, my producer, Sylvia Ewing, the face of public television in Chicago, media professor, you've also been married. And because
Getting
in
married
Chicago,
again.
that's right, in August, yay. I haven't been married yet one time. I got to learn from you. That's what my mom tells me.
You're successfully single.
Cha-cha.
Yeah, I
Never
knew
had
you
a
were gonna
failed
say
marriage.
that.
Never had a
all
failed
right,
marriage.
all right.
You're successfully single.
But you know, I have to ask you because you are about to get married, and your fiance, your husband to be, does well. But as you met him, you had to really weigh the fact that in Chicago, everybody knows you. I remember I didn't live in Chicago right after college, and I just moved back early 2000s. I would see you on public television, and you don't see African Americans on the top tier public television. So she's the she's the face, she's the name. She does the big interviews and all of that. And so that would be, a lot of men would push back, and I would imagine that they have pushed back on you before. So when you add the element of money,
Well, it really
is it emasculating?
It is if you have the wrong man.
Ow.
And I will say that women can play a role in how they carry themselves and what they do. Sylvester Harvey Jr., my fiance, would say, you go on, honey. Whatever you want to do, I support you in. But he's very confident in who he is. As long as
But
it
he's
doesn't
also
get,
done very well in his career.
and if it doesn't get in between him and the golf course, he is a happy man. So it really is who you're dealing with. But
do you think his own success
absolutely
has had, and now what if
and
a
his
man,
confidence?
well, what if a man has been struggling?
Well, see, and this is where
Because in this economy, more and more people are making less and less money. A lot of people losing these big jobs.
That's correct.
it's where there's sensitivities. Now, I'm not saying I'm rolling in it, so I don't have these real worries. But I know
But
there's
you do
ways,
have celebrity. I mean, that is a,
well, and
that
there is a
means-
part of that. So you can have the man who wants to manage you, who wants to, if you're invited to something, he wants to sit in the first spot with you. There's a whole issue. It comes down to these are men who aren't confident, and these are men who, no matter how much you try to help them feel like they are worthy, if they don't feel it themselves, there's nothing you can do. And that's just been my experience.
I think that men today are really kind of cool and really kind of bright about that, quite frankly. I think it doesn't matter what you make with most men. I think that it's just, as long as it's coming into the household, great. I mean, it really doesn't matter who picks up the check. If you're
Whoa.
making more than
Sometimes it
No,
does.
it doesn't.
Doesn't-
No, the person who's making the most should pay the bills, just like it was with your mom, your dad, my mom, my dad.
Linda, I've
The
never
person
paid
who's
for dinner in
earning,
my life. Is that my problem?
right? No, I'm just saying. I'm
She
just
just
saying.
said it.
I mean, I don't understand how women think that their money is their money, but his money is our money.
Because
not
that's
it
how
works.
I was raised,
I got
girl.
that part, but rewind.
She's such a modern woman.
I
She
mean,
is, and I'm
like
not.
a modern woman.
And I tell
Because when I
girlfriends
was in
that.
college, I have to tell you, I will never forget this, and one of my college girlfriends would not let me forget it either. In college, nobody has any money.
Okay.
But my brothers were always very enterprising, and they would throw parties and do things like that. And so they came up to Washington because we were all in school at the same time. And my girlfriends and I, because everybody loved my brothers, we ran out to
Right.
dinner. And at the end of the meal, we reached into our purses because we're all in college, we have no money. And my brother said, "Whoa, hold it." Jesse and Jonathan said, "I don't know who you've been out with before, but we've got this."
It's not Dutch with them. I got that.
With them, and I hadn't realized, but that was always the case. And I realized I'm from it's very old fashioned, and I struggle with that.
It's not a struggle for me because of the fact that if in fact we're going to expect gender equity,
I'm already,
if we
equal.
expect to get paid the same as men, if we expect to fight in battle, we have demanded this equality. So all right, let's be equal. If we're equal, then then both people can pay, or the person that has the most can pay. I mean, and
But
that's
you
the way
need
it's
a
always
man
been.
who- you
I just
need-
don't think there's any wiggle room on it.
Well, I feel that, and I think it's admirable, and the more forward-thinking and progressive families, that can work for them. There will still be men who are intimidated, and there will still be men who they can't pay, and they're crabby at you because you can.
Oh, I don't
And
know
I'm
any
just saying
man.
that you need to leave them alone.
Oh,
they
but
do
that's real,
exist.
Linda.
And
Linda,
you need to leave them alone, but they do
that's true, but they
exist.
do exist. I mean, and they're, look, I've got a father who's very famous, right?
There's no
But your
And-
mom runs that house, so.
Of course she does, but every woman does.
Right.
The hand that rocks the
CEO
cradle
of your
rules the world.
house.
I mean, no, but that's not a
Men
shock.
don't turn down first-class tickets anywhere. Men don't turn down five-star hotels.
But are they
Men
passive
are into
aggressive
it
and
these-
petty?
Men are into it now.
But are they passive
They recognize
aggressive?
their
Really?
value, just like women do.
Well,
Even though I'm
I
not paying,
recognize
if I'm
my
a woman,
value.
no, but even if I'm a woman and I'm not paying, I still have value and I recognize my value. If someone takes you to Senegal tomorrow, I mean, it just is what it is. And so men now are ready and do accept that role, black and white. I don't think there's any difference.
So
in
you're
that way. I
saying
think
that you don't
particularly
think
black
that men are emasculated
They
by
shouldn't be.
a woman who makes
It's
more
just
money?
money.
And
And
I'm
it's a
saying
medium
it
of
depends
exchange.
on. I'm saying it depends
don't
on
think
the
so.
guy. It depends on the guy. So we started off
Who's going to
talking
reject
about.
it? I'll fly coach. You go first class. I'll fly coach. Give me a
Honey,
break.
you know, as I said, Sylvester Harvey Jr.
Yeah.
would not have any problem with any amount of money that I bring into the household.
Mm-hmm.
Good for us. But there are men in relationships where even if they accept that ticket, little passive aggressive, little microaggressions, little put downs. And then there are women who there's a way that they use money as control. We're going to do what I really want.
Is that the
because
issue
I
here
paid
then,
for it.
control?
I
It's-
think that is
everybody
an
needs
issue.
to grow up and have
an
good
issue,
communication.
or an issue, or the issue?
I
Is
think
control
I
the
think
issue,
it
or
could
is it
be an
an
issue
issue?
when you start to dictate to another person, be they your husband or your wife, because you have superior economic ability, what they're going to do, what they can't do. When you try to take on almost like a parental role, I think that that's a problem.
It is.
And I think that's emasculating for a man, but it's equally troubling for a woman. Just because you pay the bills doesn't mean that what I say doesn't matter, etc.
Well, I know
we're
a
still
family.
equal here.
I know
this
a
is just a
husband.
medium of exchange.
I know a husband and wife where he is quite wealthy. She is talented and a well-regarded professional in her own right, and always kinds of feels like she has to work extra hard. And her friends think, you're a wealthy woman. Something in that relationship has kept her from feeling it's their
You know
money.
what? And you know what it is? It's him. Because,
Right.
No, because I will say this, I
is
come
him.
from a traditional background, whatever that means. And my father has never, and my mother would never allow, because you teach people how to treat you.
Right.
But my father said, what I have made is for us, and your mother and I have built this
But they
together.
started in their teens.
That's
and in
right.
their 20s.
But
When
I'm
you're
saying,
40
but
or
but
30,
you
people don't look at it that way.
But my
It's
point
yours
is,
yours, mine is mine.
my point is, men and women to me have always been equal. I don't care what the 19th Amendment said.
That's right.
My thing is this: we're different, and I think that's something that we as women have not embraced. I don't need to get in a foxhole with a man to prove that I am as strong as he is, because he can't have babies. You know, a man
Absolutely.
can't stub his toe. Now, so when are we going to get over it? Really, I mean, because and then in the black community, black women have always had more social and professional wiggle room.
Absolutely.
So what is this? The janitor was always married to the teacher. So what are we fighting about now?
Well, but part of
No.
it is we need to talk about money, and we need to have communications about it, because when my fiance and I started dating, we did talk about, we're both grown folks.
Are you getting a prenup? Are you guys doing a prenup?
We're not doing a
See,
prenup,
that's
but
where it
we've
goes
come
these
to
days.
but we've come to an understanding. So, for example, He says, I'm comfortable now. I want to be comfortable with you. He doesn't want to see his lifestyle come down. I don't want to see my lifestyle come down. We want to combine them and have sustainability for everybody. But we've both said that we've had more candor and more conversations about money than we've ever had in any other situations,
Sylvia,
and that's important.
Well, let me ask you to interrupt. She's going to get me about this after the show, but I don't want to forget this point. Do you think it's because of where you are and who you are now?
Yes.
Have you had this? You've been married before.
Yes.
What has changed in you?
I mean, it's maturity. It's also being willing to do things differently, being willing to embrace. I don't want to be the woman that goes shopping and hides the stuff in the closet.
What is that about?
It's happened. I want to shop and say, look what I got. And I want him to do the same. And I want us to have the lifestyles that we both appreciate. So we're at a stage where we could have decided to be alone happily, but we knew we wanted to be with someone, and we found that one. And in communicating about what our life needs to be, money and maturity around money is part of that, and too many people don't have the conversation.
Well, men object to the prenups now because in many instances the woman may have more resources, her business profile, everything else, and so they object to the prenup for a number of reasons. But I'm just saying that you've got to look at it, purely economically. The person who has the most should pay the most. They should give the most.
Okay.
They should do everything.
Okay.
I mean, if we're going to be equal, we're going to be equal. Or we're not going to be equal. Can I fall back into the, I'm the Mrs. in the Mrs. category, or am I?
Well, no. Hey,
person?
let me tell you, I have to defend the Mrs. because my mama's a Mrs.
My girlfriend went to Texas last week, and she said, I'm going to Texas to pursue an MRS degree. It took me a minute. Then I figured it out.
No. But you know what the problem with all of that is?
Because he makes $400,000 a year.
The thing
So that was the
is,
reason.
are you
She
going to
didn't
be a
even- never even
home
met him.
wrecker or a home
Online.
builder? What do you want to do? Choose this day whom ye will serve. I mean, really, are you trying to build a home? Or are you trying to break one? It's really, there is no gray here. So
She's 40, and she said, I want to have someone I can spend the rest of my
Well,
life
then
with
that's
that I
it.
can die
And
with. And I'm
companionship.
pursuing an MRS degree. I said,
You
okay, I got that.
And and I get that. And I'm just hoping that one day that we will begin to move into really building families, building lives. Because I see you doing that, successfully single. You do that because you support the building
Absolutely.
of a family. That about wraps it up for the Santita Jackson Show, but I want you to remember that we need to come together and build families. I guess that's been the theme today, right?
It has
It
been.
really has been about building families, because families, along with God, are the cornerstones of our lives. You can't move around them, everybody. So think about that. Let's build people. Let's make them. Let's not break them. God bless you. And remember, bless God by blessing someone else. Love, love, love. It's not a suggestion. It's a commandment. I'm Santita Jackson. Until next week, God bless you.
Thanks for watching this edition of the Santita Jackson Show.